My name is Richard Glover. Me and my brother Chris here started Monsoon Solutions. We do waterproofing solutions in commercial and residential places across New Zealand.
Cool, awesome. Tell us, what was life like before you joined the $1 Million Tradie program, and what were you looking to improve in the business?
Life was hectic. Life was 18-hour days. Life was locking my kids out of the office because I work from home, hearing them cry at the door while I keep on working, spending 2 hours a day with them. Life was facing bankruptcy after like a year and a half, figuring out that I had the skills and the knowledge of the tradie, but had no idea how to run a business. What were we looking to do? Turn that all around. My wife, she's from Papua New Guinea. My kids, they're young and they're virile. They need food, I'd made the option during lockdown a few years ago to start my own business, and I'm one determined person, but I was at the point where we were discussing bankruptcy and I was going to shut things down, but I did not want to do that.
Yeah. How was it weighing on the family and you?
Man, it's super stressful and painful to know that you're the sole provider for your family and they're sitting there hoping that you're going to do well, but also not really understanding why you're angry and stressed all the time. It's super hard because you want to provide for your kids and your family and do the right thing, but when you're in that place, man, it was waking up super early and going to sleep super late and spending all my time on the business, but feeling like you're standing in one spot, you're just running on the spot and not making any gains, any progress. And then the rest of the story is amazing. I'm really happy with our decision to join PT. Man.
How are things for you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's just heavy. It's heavy when you're watching your money just go places you don't even know. None's coming in. You're having to lay off staff that you've just hired. That was where we're at. Richard was telling me about every time he wakes up in the morning, it's just he goes from sleep to awake with a sudden jolt, just kick of adrenaline to the heart as soon as that alarm goes off, and that's no way to live, man. That's not good for your health. Yeah.
Totally. Tell us about some of the biggest changes that you guys have made.
Man. Do you want to start?
Sweet. Absolutely. So when we first started, it was right back to basics. That was pretty much what we had to do. Default diary, and that was the hardest thing I think I've ever had to put my focus on. I really didn't want to do that. It seemed like a waste of time, and everything was pulling your attention away from it. From there, it was get the sales in so that we have the money to continue with the business. So we were able to do that through luck, hard work, putting ourselves out there, asking for the jobs, and they slowly sort of started to trickle in. We then made a couple of hires from overseas who came in. They work ethic like you wouldn't believe. Really pushed our job completion through the roof. And then it was still quite tough. It was still not really like, it wasn't bankruptcy as our next decision, but it was definitely like still pretty scary. And then through months of insistence from the PT coaches, Dwayne especially, we went ahead and put out adverts for an office manager following the script and had an incredible response to it.
We had over 400 applicants through the PT process, man, and we were able to get an absolute weapon for our company, and it's turned things around.
Absolutely. Our absolute weapon is Candace. She's down here. She's with us today. She takes everything and just flies with it, man. It's unbelievable. Gives us so much more time and structure around us as well. I think the big part is the structure. I go into zero and it's not a fucking mess anymore. It's like, oh, these are our receivables. These are what we need to pay. These are the jobs coming up. This is fantastic. Like, I can see troubles as they're coming, but more importantly, I can see the successes as they're growing, which is really awesome.
Killer. Nice. What else?
What else, man? I mean, because of that free time that I have, the first thing, default diary, cool. So now I spend more than 4 hours a day with my kids, and they absolutely love it. I block off the evening. I no longer go from dinner straight into the office. I go, right, work's done, dinner, read the kids a book, before bed, put them to sleep. They tell me about their day. I wasn't getting any of that beforehand. So that's amazing. Like, that's key for me. That's to the heart, right? That's family, that's life, that's what we're building this business for. But to be able to actually step into that realm where you're actually doing what you want to do for your kids, chokes me up when I think about it. Where to from there? So we have landed some really good commercial contracts. I'm able to grease the wheels, talk to people, make connections, network, and we've really grown our portfolio.
Tell us more about it, like where you're working now.
So we send guys down to Wellington. We've got some really cool contracts that we've been doing in Auckland City. We landed one overseas in the Pacific in Tonga there. So that's going to carry on for another 6 months or so. And again, because I've been able to have a lot of these processes that I was dealing with handed off to our office manager, networking, I've now built a connection where we've got a sales pipeline coming in we have to scale very quickly, very carefully, but 500,000 to 600,000 per month is what we're looking at access in an exclusive deal. So life-changing stuff, man.
That's mega growth. What were you doing a year ago?
We were facing bankruptcy a year ago.
Standing on a roof
in the rain,
on a call with Dwayne.
Talking to Dwayne, telling him, look, we have to cut our contract with PT. We can't afford it this month. We can't afford it next month. We're probably looking at bankruptcy. And he's like, okay, yep, that sucks. What can you do next? What's one thing you can do next is what he said. And then he really dialed us into the fact of just taking the next step.
Yep.
And we did that. And once we'd done that, it was done. And then he said, what's next? And so we were following the steps, and we went from literally facing bankruptcy a year ago to now we just passed over just about $1 million in the last year of revenue, and the growth is looking pretty nice from that point forward.
Should just quickly touch on the one step at a time. Does anybody else struggle with overwhelm in this room? Like at the point of bankruptcy where you haven't said it, but I know that your kids did make a couple of comments that went straight through your soul, right? What were they?
I'd get home and my kids would be like, stop working, Dad. Read us a story, Dad. And I would have to shut the door to my office and lock them out and hear them crying on the other side while I'm sitting down trying to make sure that this business doesn't go bankrupt.
Yeah. And so when you're at bankruptcy, you're shutting the kids out, pretty fucking hard to think about all of the steps or the next step, right? So what advice would you give to everyone around like how to pick the step or how to break down that thing that you need to do into something simple that you can just pick and choose and
There's a really good process that PT has, so reach out to your coach, follow the steps, break it down into just the next step.
Yep. Reaching out to your coach, I think or to PT, to speak with someone who's not in that with you and is looking at it from the outside. You need that outside perspective. You really need it. I don't think you can really pull yourself out of it when it's that dark, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So tell us, like, after making all those changes, what are the results been for you, business, family?
Family-wise, I mean, like I said, I spend the evenings with my kids. I read them stories, and they tell me about their day every day, and that's important. I'm also able to switch off and take my kids on holidays during, on the weekends, etc. And then for the business, we've just had incredible upwards trajectory with our revenue, with our profits. We're also hiring staff, our office manager, that initially is an overhead to us, seemed really scary to take that on. Taking on the office manager opened up the ability for me to bring in more revenue. And so the growth from that was incredible. We're now bringing in a QS that starts on Monday next week.
Yep.
Very excited about that. That opens the door to price a whole lot more work. That's fantastic. The next one is the ops manager. So changing that mind perspective from, oh no, this is an overhead, to trusting that that overhead is going to grow your revenue by opening the space for you to bring in more work is one of the biggest shifts that I've had with the business.
Killer.
That's been going from a tradie to a business owner, I think, is that whole mind shift, you know?
Yeah, you got to invest to get the return, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Any financial specifics or time specifics for you, Chris?
For me, it's freed me up hugely. I'm now following my dreams as a career firefighter since the beginning of the year. So with my 4 days on, 4 days off, I'm still able to work on the business, but I'm not on a roof every day in the rain, in the hot, whatever. I'm able to do what I've been wanting to do for a long time. Financially, I mean, I was just looking at the numbers before. Our first year, we had 34,000 revenue. The second year, we had 400,000 in revenue. So that was, I think we joined PT about 3 months before the year end. And then the year after that, what is that, 2024? Mm-hmm. Yep. We did 910,000, so almost $1 million in revenue. And now we're right on track to surpass $1 million by the end of this financial year, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's great.
Killer, guys. That's huge.
Yep.
Nice job. What have been the main mindset changes you've had to make this happen?
I think definitely the ability to step back from the day-to-day intricacies. Certainly for myself, I'm very detail focused, you know. So I'm thinking, is that guy installing that properly? Is that job running properly? Being able to trust my team to be able to handle all those things and shift into the trust in my team, having processes in place, knowing that they'll follow them and the attention to detail will be there, and being able to build on the business, you know, and putting these systems and processes in place that allow us to grow our revenue, grow our profits, and spend more time with my family. Yes.
Yep.
Man.
I think letting go of control to surrounding yourself with the experts and then letting go of control to them. I think that's been the biggest shift overall, if I were to pick one. Yeah, it's huge. It's really huge. I feel like it's changed like my day-to-day life as well. I don't have to control everything. You know, you can get help quite easily, actually. Yeah.
How did you learn that one?
It was hiring Candace. Like seeing it, because I'm a very tactile person. So seeing the results, seeing what happens when you actually do that is really what drove the lesson home.
So good. Nice. Epic, guys. Team, do we have any questions for Chris and Richard? If you do, just pop up to the mics.
I'm looking at hiring an estimator in the near future. I just wanted to know with you guys, did you push the button before you actually could afford to push the button, or did you have to work on getting the income in to then hire out, like outsource more staff?
That's a very good question. I relate to that so strongly. I spent so long thinking that I had to grow the revenue first, but you're working yourself into a very difficult place by doing that. By pushing the button and trusting that the process will follow through, at that point, it seems like the cost is going to be greater than the benefit. But trust me, you follow that process a month, 2 months, 3 months, you increase the potential for revenue to come in, and you're going to be chasing it. You will have that extra time. So push the button, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, that's what I need to hear. Cheers.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Right down here.
So what you do is quite detail oriented. So when you're hiring all your crew and your team, what percentage are you training from scratch, and what percentage are you hiring someone who knows what to do, you know, the day they arrive on that Monday?
Fantastic question. So the majority of our hires do have to have some skill set in it. We also will hire skilled people and put them with people that we have that are already skilled so that they're trained in our way of doing things. So there's a bit of a process to getting the tradesmen fully up to the monsoon standard, but it's important that we have that standard there, so we've put a process in place to make that happen.
Also, there's a lot to be said for hiring a person who has the work ethic and values that your company needs and values. It's all well and good if they're a good person on the tools, but if they're not willing to come to the party and contribute to your team in the way it needs to, then they're not really going to be that much of a asset for you.
Pretty much impossible to teach values alignment.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Cool.
Awesome, thank you.
So well done on the incredible revenue growth that you've had over the years to go from, was it like around 30 up to 400 to nearly pushing the million? That's massive. If you could pinpoint a couple of things to, I guess, that were key drivers in that growth, but also unlocking the profit that obviously comes with revenue, what were they?
For me, number one, family. That's okay. That's a personal driver. For the business, it was the trusting the process that PT has in place and step by step implementing it. Back costing, looking at your margins, raising your prices, you know, and learning how to sell what you do and be confident in what you do as being the value that you're charging.
Yeah. I'd really reiterate looking at your back costing and your financials as well. Like, you don't really want to do it when you know it's bad in your heart.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it and you got to really see how bad it is. Because once we'd seen like that our GP was on some jobs 13%, like that's horrific. Then it's like I don't know. I quite like rules that give structure. If you know that is that bad, you have the structure that's like, well, there's no chance I'm charging less for this job then, even if I lose it. Doesn't matter. I need it to be at this price.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Great question. Some love. 3, 2, 1. All right. Xavier.
Yeah. First up, lads, congrats on the increase. That's pretty good. That's amazing. You said you've got in the pipeline 500K a month heading up. How the heck did you do that? What was the process behind it?
It's a bit of a unique situation.
Yeah.
I cottoned onto a certain company that's aggregating sales in a specific niche, realizing that part of that niche is something that I can service, but isn't part of their offering. I approached that founder a couple of years ago, and he, at the time, was obviously busy building this particular sales aggregator. Got in contact with him a few months ago. He had been doing the same thing with another company that had failed him majorly on quality, output, and client interaction. The way his sales aggregator works, obviously, is that client interaction is everything. So once he realized what our background was, what our values were, how we did our work, and what we did, we fit right in. So over the last couple of months, I've had a lot of discussions with him. He's got all these numbers in place of the leads that bring in and the amount of revenue that it is, and so we've signed an exclusive deal with him to basically joint venture and onwards.
That's fantastic. Congrats. That's crazy.
Nice. Some love. 3, 2, 1. All right, Amelia.
Great work, guys. Because you're brothers, how did those stress levels, how did that work with your relationship? Did you, still like each other?
Fantastic. Yeah,
Good question.
And how is it now?
I think being brothers, I think it brings a whole new dynamic to your working relationship. I think it raises the emotive side of it, but from day dot, it's been super, like, we've talking about it. Like, it doesn't matter how shit you feel, you need to be able to talk to me about it. Same for Rich to me. So we've just sort of had that emphasis from the beginning, and we've had a lot of difficult conversations that, everything's like, I don't want to have this conversation, run away. It's no good, but, we get through it, and every time you do it, it gets easier. So, yeah, I think...
Communication.
Yeah, it's the absolute key, seriously, in a partnership is, relationship or business, whatever. Really got to focus on that communication. deliberately. Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, some love. 3, 2, 1.
Just regarding the office manager, what made you realise it was more an investment than an overhead? Yeah.
Yep.
All of these guys, man. It was the last boot camp, November. I was very resistant to the idea. Chris
He
was
really
looking
was.
at it from the perspective of, look, this will grow our ability to bring in revenue. And so I kept an open mind, and I talked to coaches. I listened to other PT members talking about their experiences and their stories, and every single one had a positive outcome. And I trusted that, went with it, and honestly, sitting here now, like, it was the best thing that we've done for Monsoon, having Candice on board as our office manager. It freed up so much time for myself and has changed the whole direction of the company.
There was a specific
Push
moment.
the button.
There was a specific moment at that last boot camp, and I can't remember exactly what the calculation thing was or whatever. But it was very fortuitous that you guys were talking about it then. Whereas it was some kind of look at how this hire is going to cost you, and then let's assume you get this many more jobs, which is going to make you this much money and then this much net profit, and then you take away what the office manager is going to cost you, and you're still making more money than you were before. And I remember Richard being like, looking at me and being like, huh, I see.
That makes sense now.
Yeah.
The training's called the Business Phases of Growth. If anyone needs to go and watch that, and the calculations are all in there. But killer, guys. All right, some love. 3, 2, 1. Jeff, you got any honeys? Grab
Yeah,
two.
I'm going to have Doug and Aaron unmute.
Yeah, well done, guys. It's that's a good story. We had a question about, did you have any growing pains, from your rapid growth in revenue between that 1 year in your business? Did you find any struggles there?
It's all painful. No?
I think most of the growing pains is personal in a way. It's sort of like you have to force yourself to continually better yourself every day, to be able to handle. I mean, I remember talking with Chris about, we were pricing $2,000 and $3,000 jobs, and now we're looking at $200,000, $300,000 jobs. Shifting the perspective to be like, okay, that's just day-to-day runnings, that's fine, instead of being like, holy crap, that's so much more responsibility and more risk and all that. It's the personal mind perspective shift of the self, I think, that I would answer that question with, yeah.
Hey, well done, guys. Let's give them a huge round of applause, eh? Richard and Chris.
Thank you.